Thank you so much for taking the time, Kimiko, to come and sit down and talk with us. We know you're a very busy human being. You have so
Yeah.
much on your plate. You're very involved with Charlie Cartwright, Good Time Charlie, the Tattoo Heritage Project. You are as we said, like the hub to the wagon wheel of that organization. And there's so many moving parts. I know I'll let you kind of share how those parts all come together in your life. But I'd love to start with that. We were just talking about your last name, Tokita. It's Japanese. Like, tell us your
hmm
story. Like, where are you from originally, and how you ended up working with Charlie Cartwright?
Well, I'm from California. Grew up in Burbank, pretty much, and then Ventura County. My mother was a friend of Good Time Charlie's, and she had passed away. And so I contacted him to let him know that she had passed. And at the time, he was just kind of getting ready to close his shop. And I had some skills that he could use, which is basically operating a computer and helping him put some things online as he was closing and
Yeah.
take some pictures of his inventory and just help him get organized. Yeah, so at the same time, three people from the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles came up to visit Charlie, and it was like the day before he was closing. And they proposed him spearheading a national tattoo art museum project. So that's kind of how the Tattoo Heritage Project was born. And
Mhm.
so it was during COVID, so we had a lot of time,
Mm,
and I started filing the paperwork and
mm.
getting things together. And yeah, and it just he started. Charlie started feeling out what people thought of the idea, and the response was good. So people started throwing fundraisers, and we started organizing, and that's kind of how it began.
So I love details and I love a good story. Back up just a little bit. You said your mother was a friend of Charlie's. Was she a tattoo client? Was she a tattoo artist?
She was a tattoo artist. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
So that's why you
Yeah,
love tattoos.
when she worked at the Pike. So
Wow.
when he had originally suggested doing Long Beach, I thought LA at the time because Museum Row would be such a credential
Mhm.
space. But he was right, Long Beach because of the Pike and all the
Mhm.
activity there. Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So she worked
That's
at the
cool.
Pike with him at West Coast Tattoo. Yeah,
Wow. That's cool.
yeah,
That's some history.
yeah.
And what was your what was your schooling, or like you said, you're into organizing events. I mean, you're an artist management. Like, what's your background?
Right. Right. So I did not go into tattooing. It used to be a very you know, week to week kind of job. I wanted something with more security. So I actually got involved in artist management. I worked for a
Hmm.
company that represented bands. And so I spent 17 years with that company, just managing talent and it's basically you're the go between the artist and all the other projects, recording, touring, publishing, special appearances, that sort of thing. So my background
Hmm.
lended this to this project. It helped a little bit because I'm
Hmm.
well versed in organizing people and
Hmm.
yeah, and pushing things
Yeah.
forward and also representing the artist in the way that they want to go in. So that's it's always about
Hmm.
what their vision is and trying to you know carry out those pieces to make it so.
That's such
Yeah,
a missing piece from the tattoo industry. Like you said, organizing people, organizing tattoo artists, is like wrangling cats, right?
like musicians, yes.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Just the talent, just totally
Yeah,
all over the place. I love how you were saying just some initial helping Charlie understand how to, use a computer and take some pictures and do some basic inventory. It's such
yeah.
outside the typical tattooist wheelhouse. And that's, these are
Mm.
indicative pieces of like tattoo artists in the history of us, right? So it's cool that you're getting a
Hmm.
chance to really engage with not just with your mom working with him on the Pike, which is such a historic tattoo site, but also seeing it come up from a week to week thing to now being something that somebody can have a pretty dang good career with. Seeing that transition into being a part of
Yeah.
the project. Now, um,
Mm.
when did you start working with Charlie specifically? Was that
I would say it
you?
was 2019. I think I started helping him put some prints online and helping
Hmm.
him post with social media because he doesn't really know how to use a smartphone. So Instagram was, kind of,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah. So I just helped him put some things in the stores, prints in the stores, and then post them on Instagram and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And the
Okay.
first time I ever met Charlie was at the Pike. I think I was like 3 years old and my my mom was coming in for her shift, and she had me on her, hip, and I remember the words entirely. Carol, this ain't no place for kids. So they put me in the spot, and I remember it was very busy. Everything was always moving around. Like they'd set me in one spot, and then they'd have to put me in another spot because they needed that
Mm.
piece of furniture, and so it was really hopping back then. It
Oh
was a lot of
wow.
fun, the
Oh,
Pike. Yeah.
that's
So I have fond memories of the Pike as well.
that's
Yeah.
cool. That's amazing. Oh wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it seems almost serendipitous that it sounded like you said when Charlie was watching the clothes, but then you came in and helped lift him up and do the basic things of how to get what he's done and share it with the community, right? Get
And
him
learning about his
into
history, yeah. Mhm.
his. Oh yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of the history of tattooing, he was pivotal on the West Coast tattoo scene. That really added
Yeah,
that, was one of those pivotal shifts in the tattoo styles, from American traditional to,
for sure.
the black and gray realism and such, and all those things that stemmed from Good Time Charlie. So,
And his beginning as well in Kansas. I mean, I think people
yeah,
forget about the fact that he started when he was 15 years old and in Kansas, and he was tattooing hand poke out of the back of a 1946 Chevy sedan. It's always my favorite
wow.
story because you can see him, parked in front of, various establishments, usually pool halls, that sort of thing. And
Hmm.
he'd have a
Hmm.
line, for clients to come and get tattooed out of the back of his car. I thought that was a great story. That
Wow.
one is often glazed over.
Well, there's the humble beginnings thing where nowadays we try and look down on that, but hey, what happened
Yeah.
in the history made today, so we need to realize that it doesn't matter where you come from, it's what you do with it, right?
Well, that's all
And
there
he's done
was
a lot.
back then.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't
right.
like there was a choice. It wasn't like you could go
Yeah,
into a shop and
mhm,
get a job. It was you did it where you could.
100%.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a true pioneer, right?
for sure.
That's cool. And then, so, fast forward, it's
Hmm.
2019, you're getting involved. Then the pandemic happens, and then you said a few people approached you all about the museum.
It was right before the pandemic. He closed in February of 2020. And
Okay.
so we were just, starting to begin to take things off the walls, that sort of thing. And Charlie was, and I
Hmm.
was there for maybe 4 or 5 days to help him ship the black wall. And three people from the Natural History Museum came up and just wanted to see the shop before it was gone because his shop was kind of like a museum. I mean, there
Yeah.
wasn't an inch where there wasn't an image on it to choose from, and
Hmm. Hmm.
his shop didn't have the internet. He had resource books like crazy. Like just
Wow.
tons. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of books and images and thousands. Thousands. Every place you could find an image, of some kind. So he was pulling all that off the walls, and they came up and we went to lunch, and they proposed that idea. And then all three of the staff got GTC tattoos, and they drove a 12-hour
Nice.
round trip just to propose this idea. They really just, they
Mm.
came up, we had lunch, they threw that out there, and then they left. And then so COVID happened in March, right? March. And so
Hmm.
there was a lot of
Hmm.
time to sit and think. And well, it couldn't hurt to fill out the paperwork, for a
Hmm.
nonprofit. And
Hmm.
so that's basically how it happened. But in the meantime, one of the woman that was spearheading it, Christine Lockaby, she passed away from cancer. But we didn't
Oh.
know because everything had been
Hmm.
kind of silent, and we were waiting for paperwork to go through. And so when we really started to gear up, we found we lost the main person that was driving it on the museum side. So it was kind of like starting from scratch.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did a lot of studying and trying to
Hmm.
reach out to people to see if they were interested in helping take the reins.
just as you kind of came in and helped Charlie transition into technology, you had somebody come and potentially be there to help get into the museum realm, but then that's
Lead
gone.
it.
So now it's like,
Square one.
um, mm, mm.
Yeah,
and I did sit in on one of the
you
board
did
meetings and listen in, yeah,
early
and I
on.
got to hear, all the logistics thrown at it. It's like, whoa, all right,
It's a lot.
there's a lot, and
Yeah.
it's invisible, but I can see a lot of it on your shoulders. So I mean,
hmm
so since then, like what has happened up to this point from the
Sure.
part that you've got your paperwork and things started
hmm
manifesting.
Right. So Charlie on the tattoo side, he started reaching out to tattoo artists to see how they felt about, such an establishment, which was met
Hmm.
with really favorable, support.
Of
And then
course.
on my end, I reached out to the community of Long Beach. I reached out to economic development and, council people and really the Queen Mary, various
Museum.
buildings, lots of buildings. We did a lot of, searching for a space. But again,
Hmm.
that was right during and post COVID. So there was a lot of change. Like we went through two economic development representatives within a year and a half. They just
Mm.
people quit and new people came on and then they quit. And so it was always starting
Sure.
over. And then the buildings, we figured out how much it was going to cost for each building. And the property owners all had different deals that they might, entertain. We went to the city for support because a lot of times the city has buildings that aren't being used that they could, we could utilize that space working the correct deal. I mean, we just tried a lot of different things. But again, that's 2020, 2021. You know,
Hmm.
remember we opened up and shut down several times during that period.
Hmm.
So that was interesting. And then 2022, we made more progress with the talks with the city. We did a lot of outreach via conventions, trying to figure out, as a whole, if tattooers were interested, and also the people that were getting tattooed, if it was something that they would go to as well, if they had any interest. And we found out a lot of people just didn't even have the knowledge. The normal tattoo consumer, they really didn't think about what was past, what was happening right now, especially after COVID, because really everybody went into like, what do I stand for? How much do I believe in it? And, it translated
Hmm.
into tattooing. I mean, you guys, you felt it, right? That what they call the tattoo boom during and after COVID. Did
Oh
you?
yeah, yeah,
Right? So that really happened,
yeah.
right?
It
Okay.
did. Oh well, yeah. To your point, we see so many 5 year and under tattoo artists like that started 2019
Yeah.
having their first slow season. Now they're
Yeah.
like, oh my god.
I've been reading about that. Everybody's
Hmm.
panicking. So
Hmm.
everybody's panicking.
It's like that. That's a part of. It's a part of it. If you've been around for more than 10 years, you just got to deal with the steak summers and ramen winters,
The
and
ebb
it's
and flow. Yeah.
the ebb and flow of it. Yeah, yeah.
hmm
But
Yeah.
so now that, I mean, I feel like I've seen some cool fundraisers.
hmm
We've been seeing some information in the news. You've
Yeah.
been again engaging with the your local city and leadership. What are some high points that you're really excited to talk about, and with the
Oh,
progress you're at now?
well, so we were approved by the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Committee about bringing this museum to Long Beach. So we've gotten, our district council women's
Mm,
approval, and they're on board to
nice.
to try and help spread the word. And then right after that meeting, economic development showed up and said, "Hey, well, let's talk, see what we can do." Then we went over to the
Hmm.
Queen Mary and had to talk to them because the city owns the Queen Mary. So we thought,
Hmm.
oh, okay, this might be a really, interesting way to pursue it. So we looked at the space that they suggested, and it's going to need quite a bit of a build out. So,
Sure.
money, everything's money.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
we also took a look at the Ocean Center building, which is the old entrance to the Pike. And we're hoping to do some pop ups there. And that might also be a potential space, depending on, what our resources are and the partners that come aboard. I mean, we're really
Hmm.
grassroots. We
Yeah.
haven't raised all that much money, considering
Hmm.
how much it takes to build. I
Yeah.
mean, we're definitely under 150,000 total. So
Hmm.
stretched over 3 years trying to do the outreach at the conventions and not really seeing the response. I mean, I shouldn't say not the response. We have the one-on-one response, but it doesn't mean they're gonna buy a T-shirt to help us offset costs, you know.
Hmm.
And we're
Hmm.
able to talk to the convention goers and plant the seeds, but it doesn't mean they're gonna, buy a T-shirt
Hmm.
or put $5 in the
Hmm.
donation box, that sort of thing. But I've learned that a lot of times in the very beginning of nonprofits, that's just, education is the beginning.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's where we're
No.
at right now.
Well, I love where you said that there, and education is key, and
Mm,
like you mentioned, trying to get the education out to the clients, and I think there's a lot to be said about what the space is really potentially going to be, not just a museum, but a place that I believe tattooing is going to happen at, education
mm.
potentially could happen at it. What are some of the like the brain ideas, like the thoughts about what could actually be within those four walls?
Right. So we're encouraging private collectors to come forth and present ideas. A lot of people don't really want to give up their artifacts, or, not give them up, but because we're not buying, it's just on loan, and they're going to
Mm,
be rotating exhibits. So we're really
yeah.
encouraging the private collectors to come and share their stories. Everything will be fully insured and protected and all that sort of thing. But I think a lot of people are just, scared to let their prized possessions go, but we can tell the
Mm,
story in different ways. We don't need I mean, I don't know if
mhm,
you've seen museums recently, but a lot of them don't go on artifacts. They go on multimedia presentations to tell a story. So you can do it through
mhm,
video, you can do it through
mhm,
photographs, you can do it through creative
mhm,
ways of, until people are comfortable, showcasing the
mhm,
real
eh,
stuff. But
mhm.
it's not just history, it's also contemporary art as well. So,
Yeah.
it's a balance of the history and then also the wonderful artwork that tattoo artists are creating in different mediums. You're
Mm,
seeing
mm,
painters, sculptures. We just did, well, one of our board members, Carlos Torres of
mhm,
the Raven and the Wolves, he just did a art show, and it was half history. Chewy from our board as well. He set up all the historic, elements of it, and then Carlos brought in all these amazing tattooers that did, their versions on past symbolism, sort of thing, roots of
mm,
it, but they did a new take on it, and it was really neat. It's called Cast Shadows.
mm,
It's going to be up for a month, and they're leaving it up for a month so we can show the community leaders what an exhibit at the museum might look like.
mhm,
And then we
mhm.
also have
That's so
Carrie
cool.
Barba's museum as well. Carrie
Mhm,
Barba also on the board, founding member,
mhm.
founding board member.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, so we've got examples. Now we just have to pull together the different stories and put them under one roof. But there's lots of ways we can go about it. I mean, you've not only got, American history, but, indigenous, and I mean,
Mhm,
and then also culturally, like obviously the
mhm,
Chicano
mhm,
tattooing movement
mhm.
influenced lots
Yeah.
and lots of, so,
Change the
and
game completely.
right, exactly. And so there's a lot of different, there's also an African American aspect of tattooing that people aren't
Oh,
necessarily
that's
familiar
cool.
with, but there's
Mhm,
documentaries, and we're trying to bring all that to light so more people can find
mm.
information
Oh, that's
if it
such
works.
cool. That's such a cool idea. I mean, and it
Mm,
sounds like, it's just a place and a space that things can evolve and tell the
yeah,
story and stories, and then again, kind of work towards a more collective, unified future.
yeah, for
Because
sure.
tattooing does unite so many people through, of all backgrounds through just
Right.
tats.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
Yeah,
what, today, moving forward, what are some
right.
of the, the strategic plans you got, some strategies, maybe some ways that we can, through the APT, share the
Mm,
message,
yeah.
through socials? I mean, what are some of your ideas right now that we could collaborate with?
For sure. Well, I think because, we had a woman from she retired from the Getty. She's a museum business consultant. She helped build the aquarium in Long Beach. She lives in Long Beach. She helped us put together our business plan and also the budget on a full working museum that, has curators and everything you need to tell a story. and it's expensive. So I think we have to go
Mhm.
after brand money or corporate
Mhm.
sponsorships. Obviously, most
Mhm.
museums, and I have to say this, most museums are started by one person that has a lot of money. We're
Mhm.
starting something grassroots with a lot of people that are artists but don't have a dedicated museum space for them.
Mhm.
So grassroots, right? I
Mhm.
think the
Mhm.
easiest way is for anybody who'd like to see this museum happen, like us and follow us on social media so we can show we have a following. And if we
Mhm.
show that we have that support, then we can go to brands and say, look at all these, there's a big
Mhm.
audience for this sort of thing. Um, and you've got potential reach here and also a chance to support the formation of a real first national tattoo art museum that we don't have one. We don't have one.
Yeah.
It's going to be the first, and it's not to say that
Mhm.
we're trying to take away from the smaller museums that are attached to tattoo shops. It's actually the opposite. We want to highlight their stories. We want to share what they want to share, but we also want to point to them so people can go and
Mhm.
experience the rest of what they have. We're not trying
Mhm.
to take
Mhm.
everything and put it in this place. We're trying to help educate people on why they should maybe go take a tour of it all. And
Mhm.
it would be a fun road trip maybe, or if they're in the
Oh
neighborhood
yeah.
they could go check it out. It depends on how deep they get into it.
Mhm.
But at least they have a little taste of it in one place and they can learn more about it.
Mhm.
Also a place to keep the ethics and the respect for the beginning, and everything that goes along with it. Is tattooing isn't just about something you put on. It's There's a whole background of
Mhm.
you know of why you're
Yeah.
doing it and your
Mhm.
purpose of doing it, and also the ethics behind it. And it is a way of
Mhm.
life. It's not just something you
Mhm.
do during those
Yeah, I
times. It's
think,
a way of life.
and never has it been more apparent than today, because
Yeah.
the last statistic I read was like 43% of Americans are tattooed, and you know,
Hmm.
half that, or a good chunk of them, have multiple tattoos. So um,
Yeah.
it is something that it's a part of our culture that we need to raise up and to see where it comes from, because some people have no idea. They would have no idea
Yeah.
where the true history comes from, and I think when you know more about it, it really enriches it. And I love what you said, and I think this is like a great call to action. Is
Mm.
you need the big brand money, right? You need those corporate sponsors. You need the millions of dollars, really. And one
Yeah.
way that will entice corporate and brand sponsorship is investing in somewhere that they know that there's a following, like you said. And so
Hmm.
getting people to follow is important. And
Yeah.
maybe, something that you could add to this interview is maybe some sort of valuable information that a tattoo artist could use in their career right now, especially,
Mm.
advice or anything you've seen working with the history in such
Hmm.
a historically rich group, because again, we're coming into this era of like, it's a cyclical craft that you experience with your mom,
Mm.
working week to week,
Yeah.
right, tattoo to tattoo, to
Yeah.
come out of this
Feast or
5 years
famine.
of just, yeah, yeah, and it's been just a feast, and we've gotten so um
Hmm.
fat on it, now it's like, now it's leveling off. And
Hmm.
so I think a good way to attract more people to follow is to, give us some advice. Kimiko, what do you
Oh,
give
well,
us some good?
Charlie
Mhm.
said it best. He said, take care of your art and it will take care of you.
Mhm.
Establishing a museum in the fine art sense solidifies
Mhm.
it. Not that it isn't
Mhm.
already, but it really does, like, put the
Mhm.
major stamp on it. And it not only archives the past, but it's also going to archive the present, and the future. It's ongoing if we do it right. Unfortunately, doing it right means you have a lot of overhead, but that's how it's going to stay alive, is if you've got the proper
Mhm.
people in place. And also,
Mhm.
we're a nonprofit, so we are transparent. We serve everybody, you know
Mhm. Mhm.
and the board will change. Everything will rotate, and so we have to set it up so it's got its proper working in order. It's not something we want to ever see go away. That's the hardest part too,
Mhm.
is, there's a lot of stuff there that we don't want to lose. And if we don't have an institution that protects it, you don't know where it's going to go. You could give it to the Smithsonian, but it doesn't mean it's not going to land in the basement, you know,
Mhm.
and it might be
Mhm.
pulled out now and then, but this is going to be something that is ongoing, working towards archiving, preserving, for decades, centuries
Yeah.
to come.
Yeah.
That's what we hope. Yeah. So we
It's
want to
been
make
going
it,
on for centuries. Yeah.
yeah. And so this will be the first time that it's really been under one roof. And again, we don't want to, you know, um, get away from the fact that it's also got a regional thing. And so that's why the first
Mhm.
national, and really we want it to go international. We want to bring everything, under this roof and have it, rotate. And so there's always something new in there.
Mhm. Are you familiar with Lars Krutak? He was on the
Yes.
Discovery. Yeah.
Hmm.
Any
Yes.
any
We,
collaboration with him at all?
yeah, we've talked about. I have a letter of intent for doing a docu-series that we're trying to work on, which
Mm.
is basically the explanation of the museum and why it's important for it to be,
Oh,
and
good.
have little bits in there. And we want to collaborate with everybody eventually, but
Mhm.
we're in the beginning stages. So I've reached out to
Sure.
everyone, um, and now it's a matter of just showing them what can be pulled together, and at what time they're
Mhm.
comfortable coming aboard, and also the resources. I mean, we're grassroots. We started with a loan from Charlie with $500 to file the paperwork, the Zoom and
Nice.
the corporation and
Yeah.
everything. So we really started with,
Mhm.
nothing. Charlie's 500
Mhm.
bucks. Yeah, and we're
No,
frugal.
it's
I
amazing.
mean, yeah.
Completely.
And a lot of the conventions we've gone to, we've been able to, get booths donated and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But there's travel
Mhm.
involved, and
Yeah.
it gets
Vision
expensive.
tall.
So, but we learned a lot from that outreach. We learned really a lot, and we got to really educate a lot of people about why it's important.
Going into, like I said, a more tumultuous times in the industry, and yet
Yeah.
all the things you're mentioning, you're looking at this, what was at first a monumentous effort, and now you're making some strides, still grassroots, but some,
Hmm.
the ball's rolling, the
Yeah.
word's spreading. What personally keeps you going? Like, what is the philosophy and the purpose behind it? Like, what, like, anyone that's less, I guess, dedicated would be like, ah, I'm good with this later.
Can't
What
stop
what keeps you
now.
going?
I just don't give up. That's my problem.
That's
It's
not a
always been
problem.
my problem. Oh, well, sometimes
Oh goodness.
you
Oh
can beat a
goodness.
dead
Yeah.
horse, but yeah, you just don't give up and you see
Yeah.
the path. I mean, I was there when, in the music business, when Napster ruined it. It was
Oh wow.
2008. So Napster made
And
music free, which made the record labels collapse, which made touring,
mm,
congested, and, it was just crazy. But what happened at that time was the brand stepped in, because the
mm,
label stopped developing acts. So what happened? Converse built a recording studio, and Red Bull created a label, and Scion helped
mm,
bands tour, and the brands came in and they helped build it back up, supported it, so the artists could still work and develop and all that stuff, because the majors weren't.
mm,
So that's
mm,
what I'm counting on
needed.
this. But in order for the brands to sign on, they've got to see that the people want it. So
Yeah.
that's where I get, it's
Yeah.
like it
Okay.
doesn't cost anything to support. You just have to follow and invite your friends to follow, and really,
Yeah. Yeah.
participate in the conversation. That's the other part too. It's like some people wonder if they could be a part of it, but you have to participate in order to be a part of it. So
Mhm. Mhm.
we want to keep those conversations going and the ideas coming, and you know everything's been so far born out of the tattoo community. From the first event was held at Anchored Art in Washington, and Spokane. Yeah, Spokane. Yeah, I'm blanking on the space, but Jeremy Corns, he hosted the first talk where Charlie came in and gave all of his reasons why he wanted to do this. And then
Mhm.
that led to the Trufant brothers in Texas fundraising for us, right? And then that
Mhm.
led
Mhm.
from Gabriel Massey from Battle Royale hosting a tattoo event. And all these
Mhm.
things come from the people. We haven't actively thrown our own fundraisers. Then Sullen came in and did the art thing,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
The art sales. So outside of just printing some T-shirts and stuff, we haven't been actively asking for money on a real level, and mostly because we wanted to make sure the community understood what we were trying to do, and also get the support of Long Beach and find a real space and get the real costs and build the business
Hmm.
plan. And that's where all the money so far has gone to, is the outreach, building the business plan, reaching out to brands, the initial conversations, which, we had a brand agent go out there to certain relationships. What do you think about this? And then it was always like,
Hmm.
well, we want to see where it's going to be. And so now we found a place where it's going to be and what's going to be in it. And we reached out to everybody. Well, you want to put something in it. And so now we're just getting that feedback. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, which is very grassroots.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's going to be great one day for you to look back and chart your course, right? Of where you
Yeah,
started, where it was, how you got to where you're at this beautiful building where the project actually exists. So I
right.
believe it will. And
Yeah.
and I love the great call to action from this
Hmm.
is first call to action is just follow your page,
Yeah.
engage, share content,
Share
just just
stories.
letting yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Forrest right here, he's a huge tattoo collector.
Mm.
He has more tattoos. He has a great bodysuit, and
Nice.
this is a testament to people that love tattooing and be able
Hmm.
to. There's so many more collectors out there than there are tattoo artists. So it's the
Hmm.
tattoo artists being able to share this information with those folks, right? That's going to bring.
Yes.
Um,
And the
hmm.
tattoo collectors as well. I mean, some of our best posts on
Hmm.
social media come from people sharing their own stories of,
Yeah,
their tattoos, their relationship with their tattoo artists. Like, that's some of our most responsive posts. So we know there's interest. We just need more of it.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, of course.
Yeah.
And just a little bit every day heads in the
Hmm.
right direction, right?
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to throw up a brick wall real quick. You got to put one brick down, make sure there's good mortar, another brick down, so it's nice and solid. It will
For sure.
stand the test of time.
Yeah,
Um,
and like Forrest, if you have an experience with a tattoo artist and a tattoo, just sending a picture of that and a little paragraph and just sharing that with us, and then we share it with the community and people chime in. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of amazing. Like I never thought I would get into travel or do too much exciting with my life, but tattoos have like totally changed that and all the stories that I have now they're always so fun to share, but I feel like kind of like tattoo artists, like a lot of collectors are kind of behind closed doors and keep things under wraps but at least like the more people share, the more it encourages others to share as well. So yeah,
mhm.
I definitely plan to follow along and support any way I can, really. Because yeah, like that Ben and I said, there's always more collectors than there are tattooers, and yeah, it wouldn't be possible like without. It's kind of a relationship that requires each
Mhm.
other.
Yeah. Yeah, and this
Yeah.
museum will be so different because it is a collaborative, art form. And, most museums, when you go into them, you see that, an artist's perspective, but now you're seeing, this collaborative effort of two stories, really. And I don't know, it's interesting. I think if more people heard the stories, they'd be more engaged with it.
It just got to keep telling it.
Yep.
Like you said, you're not gonna quit. So we'll
There's no
let's
quitting.
keep yeah, let's keep engaging with those who are involved.
Hmm.
I love that you shared the wisdom that Charlie just passed down as to always take care of the art, right? Because you're right, and the tattoo artists may not be considered by the grand scheme a truly solid, legitimate career field, but we can attest that it can be, and we
Yeah,
may feel like it's been around for a while, but for some, it's still the beginning, right? So we still have
sure.
only one way to go. And, we're going to see tattoo history eventually probably in school because, I mean,
Hoping, fingers
the
crossed, and
teachers are
it's
going to be
starting.
tattooed.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
It should
yeah.
be it should be in art history classes for sure, and they are
Hmm. Oh,
starting.
sure.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It's just
No,
on the very wave of it, the very cusp of it.
mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm.
Well, this is the beginning. So it's
Yeah.
exciting. And it's exciting to get to take some of your time because, again, I know you're so busy. So is there any
Yeah.
maybe some final thoughts or some ideas you have for us, or?
Well, I know you're going to go through the entire board and kind of, interview everybody. And so that'll
Yeah.
be good to hear everybody's perspective of why they're
Hmm.
involved and, what they hope to see and things they think people should help with, things that they could help
Hmm.
with. And so I
Hmm.
appreciate you doing that. It's huge because we really haven't had that kind of in-depth platform. And
Of
I,
course.
I think it's going to be great.
Oh, I 100% agree. And tattoo has been amazing to everyone in the room here, as well as everyone that's going to see it. So I think it's only going to add more value
Sure.
and ingrain that story. So now, for the recording, Kimiko, where would we send people for more information, socials and website, just so we can have that soundbite?
Sure. You can go to tattooheritageproject.org and you can follow us on Instagram, tattoo_heritage_project, and
Hmm.
Facebook. We're on Facebook, but not so great on Facebook yet. I'm still learning. I manage all the social media platforms as well. So, it's
Hmm.
kind of
Who
as
uses Facebook anymore?
a lot of people,
Yeah, I
the
know.
older crowd and the groups, all the talk groups and everything, all those things.
Hmm.
So I need to get more, you know.
Hmm.
Right now, it's really
Hmm.
just me behind this computer as far as getting the information out and organizing things. So if I'm a
Hmm.
little late in responding, just I'm getting there. I got a list. Got a list.
Well,
And volunteers are welcome.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that
call
actually
for
because
volunteers.
there's obviously you do so much, and like just in our email communications, it's like I've been blown away at professionalism and just how great of a job you do. Like, what are there any like specific opportunities or like support you're looking for with volunteers or anything like that?
Hmm.
Well, I feel volunteers should go with what they're interested in. So anybody that's got an interest, let me know what you want to do, and we'll find a way for you to do something because there's plenty to do. But I find that it's best to start with volunteers. What are you interested in? And
Hmm.
then we are just getting at to the point where we're organizing volunteers because we actually really do have some to dos for people. So anything you want to help out with, we've got a ton of grant writers that are on board for writing grants, but I need help with searching for grants, grant research, that sort of thing. Some social media help would be great. Reaching out to community businesses in the Long Beach community, I think, is important, and just getting those follow numbers up so we can show brands that there's a real interest, because I think that's going to
Hmm.
be key. That's what I see right now anyway, unless this message gets out to a tattoo collector or someone that has the resources to really come in and help us properly, because like I said, most museums come in with a giant donor.
Hmm.
For
Hmm.
instance, the George Lucas Museum, that one's like in the billions range, but he's flipping the bill for, the majority of it.
What kind of
So
brands do you guys like plan on working with? Is it like mostly like tattoo brands, or even just like museum art brands, or even like is there more broad brands that you see as an opportunity?
I think anybody that's interested in the tattoo culture lifestyle and keeping it real, I think that's the most important thing. There's
Hmm.
obviously going to be a
Hmm.
level of you've got to keep it real. There, you can't have that exploitation, of course, because that's number one. You cannot exploit,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So we have to have the level of respect that comes in and understands, the ethics behind it all. That's really as with any art form. I mean, you can't have a band going out there having a corporate sponsor that doesn't align with their
Hmm.
beliefs. So it's got to be in line, and they have to understand it, which isn't hard. I mean, the ethics behind it are pretty pure. You don't exploit. You try to keep it as pure as possible with the point of the art, which is helping the consumer find their voice and making it a permanent. They're basically making a statement that's going to live with them forever, so they're going to know exactly what that means to them, and then they're
Hmm.
collaborating with an artist to help them see their vision through. I mean, that's the key of it all, right? There is a
Hmm.
shaman like aspect to it all. At least it began that way, and we hope that that continues, that a tattoo artist takes their job seriously in helping another individual with their voice, because it really is. You're giving. Am I right on? I think I'm right on that.
Oh yeah.
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 So
Well, that's perfect.
yeah.
Well said.
So thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing to see
So
you guys upholding that for, I guess, the entire community. Like the fact that you guys are documenting and sharing that, like it's very inspiring. So I hope that people get inspired and get involved by your efforts.
thanks. Yeah, that's the key to it all. If we get lost from that point, then it is kind of lost. That's Charlie's big. That's the root of it all, really, is understanding why you're there.
Very cool.
So you'll hear more from him.
Yeah. Yeah, looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to talking with Charlie. It's always is a fun conversation, and all the board members, like you said, getting all the perspectives, and
Oh
I
yeah.
think those will be
all
great
very
angles.
unique. Yeah, all very unique, and they all have a hold of a particular thing that is of interest. Same with, same goes for our volunteers, but also our board. They all have their own point of view and the things that they're interested in. So it'll be fun. It'll be good.
What was it like sort of bringing that group together? Like how did the board sort of become assembled? I'm sure everyone sort of has their own story, but I guess you were probably there from the beginning, Charlie. Like, so what was your perspective
Yeah.
on everyone sort of coming together in this effort?
Well, it started really with the paperwork filing. You need a president, a treasurer, and a secretary. So it was Charlie, Jack, and myself. I'm the secretary. And then from there, Charlie invited Carrie Barba and Chewy and Corey, and, in mind of all the different things that they had to offer. Of course, Carrie had to be okay with it and be interested in it because she's the anchor in Long Beach. So had to make sure that that was in line with what she would be supportive of. And then Chewy, because of his collection and how much he loves history and the knowledge he has, and Corey, his background. He also is a collector, but he's got the background of being able to help with media projects and that sort of thing. But also he's got quite a collection as well. And so it kind of it started that way. And then everybody was added as Josh Chisler. He was one of the 3 people that came up with the museum folks. So yeah, everybody just had this suggestion. After the core got together, everyone then started suggesting people, and we grew to 13. And and we'll see if we grow from there. But now we're starting committees, so you've got the general board. It can't get too big or else we'll never get a board meeting scheduled. I think you probably know about that, Ben. How you got to wrangle everybody for a board meeting. So then it now becomes committees, so then you got X amount of people working on a certain sector, and then you got your subcommittees. And so we're still a lot of room for help, for sure.
Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yes. Come on. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see what can come from these conversations. Again, we're sharing you also this with our APT community, which again has some people who are interested in safeguarding tattooing, but also very well versed in history, or at least very interested in maintaining it. So, we'll say for anyone watching this, there's opportunities to volunteer with the Tattoo Heritage Project. And at very least, we're having just that basic request of just following and sharing your voice, sharing your history.
Yeah, bring your ideas.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, who knows? It may just end up landing on that brand or that person who eventually wants to make it come to
that'd be
actually
lovely.
put in the fees for. You can go on vacation then, right?
Yeah.
Well, then the work starts.
Well, and then the ACT committees, the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Committee, said they would really like to see it open before the Los Angeles Olympics in 2028. So we have kind of a deadline. We want to be open before then, at least in some capacity, so we can represent, because that'll be quite a influx of people to see it.
Hey, it's cool. You got a mission and you got a timeline now.
We got a timeline now, yeah. And we can represent exhibits. Not if people are afraid to share their actual artifacts, we can go into the other storytelling ways of video, multimedia. Being really creative with our presentations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And Forrest, you had some great questions. Do you have any left for Kimiko or?
I was curious just to, and this might be a good way to end it. With it being nonprofit, I know it
Hmm.
sort of has to be run by
Hmm.
like a specific mission. So I didn't know if you wanted to leave us with like maybe what the mission specifically is of Tattoo Heritage Project.
It's pretty broad because we wanted to cover, a lot of things. We not just the past, but the present, and anything we can do to archive it. Work with people that are already archiving. Chuck Eldridge obviously is a leader of pulling
Hmm.
this stuff together, but there are also other people in other territories. So we want to be able to pull all that information together. So there's one place where, you can find everybody's, but it's a collaboration. It's not ours, it's everyone's. Share.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's inclusion. Should I read it off if I remember it right?
If you want to, I feel bad now. I put you on the spot.
I know you put me on the spot. I got to look for it. But basically, it's supporting and preserving. Oh, you know what there is? It's support, unite, defend, and preserve. Maybe not in that order, but Jeremy Corn's. That's the key: unite,
Hmm.
preserve, defend, and support. I think that's it.
I love
It's the
that.
gist of it, though.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Very
great.
cool.
Well, thank you very much
Perfect.
for all your time and efforts as well and helping us get the word out. And Ben for sitting in that meeting in the very beginning. Appreciate your support as well.
Of course, I'd be there if I didn't realize there was some fires over in the regulatory side. But once those are kind of dampened down, I definitely
Yeah.
see some more collaboration moving forward. I mean, we're starting it right now.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you. Appreciate you. Everything you do.
You too.